Perfect.
Thank you guys all for being here. I just want to start with saying thank you to our sponsors, H. Kruger and Associates, who does some awesome interior design work. They've done a lot of work over at Epic, so you've probably heard of some of their work. And then also Total Wine. We were going to use them as our venue, but we're all home, so we are still happy to promote them as our sponsor for supporting the chamber. So. Just a few housekeeping things. I am recording today's session, so if you want to go back and reference it at all, we will post it on the Chamber's YouTube page and send it out to you guys afterwards. Etiquette, if you guys can keep yourselves on mute during the presentation, but we do encourage you to use your camera, so Chantel feels like she's talking to people rather than bubbles. That would be great. And then also we'll be monitoring chat throughout, so feel free to type your questions into chat, and we'll be asking those throughout, and then we'll also have time at the end. So at this time, I just really love to introduce Chantel, who's the founder and creative director of Stardust Creative. She was our speaker a few months ago on LinkedIn and kind of how to set up your profile. And she's back today to really share some ideas on content. So at this time, Chantel, I'd just love to turn it over to you.
Woohoo, awesome. Well, first I would love to hear who here was at the first part 1, because yes, you could put it in the chat so that I can kind of see the numbers there, so that I don't have to recreate the wheel on some of those pieces of information. That would be super helpful. So today we're going to talk a lot about content. Content is everything, and it's easy to not understand what not the importance, because I know we all see it as like a social media advertisement. However, it's more of a dialogue today, and we'll get into that. It's not just sending a message and posting an advertisement on social media. Things go a lot deeper if you want to see the return on investment there. And I will give you the secret sauce, my secret recipe to dazzling on any kind of social media. But you have one shot at it. So I'm so thankful that you're here today to listen to what I have to share with you. And I hope that the tools that I give you today you can implement them, and you will see the results in your social media strategy, in your online digital reputations. So going in, I would like to start it off with a little participation. So if you're not familiar with the chat feature, please get familiar. I want to know how often you create content on LinkedIn, because we're going to be talking more about the LinkedIn side than social media in general. So 1, you're active. 2, you share and engage every once in a while, but maybe you're not a super active creator, creating your own special content. 3, maybe you have created it all before and it's set to automate, publish. There's a big drawback to that on LinkedIn that we'll get into. And then 4, basically never. So you are not active, but you want to be active. I would love to hear from you. So let me open up the chat. Some 4s, okay. So I'm assuming that the 4s are super interested in building a content strategy or a social media strategy, because that's something we really, okay, yes, awesome. Joining for the first time today, great, okay. Between 1 and 2, okay. A good comfortable hybrid there. Sometimes 2, other months 4, yep. Really depends. So a little trick there would be to have a content strategy or like a content calendar. Creating it in bulk is great, except for those on-the-fly pieces that we'll get into as well. But this is great information. Thank you so much for sharing. I see a lot of 2s, so we're gonna inspire you to up the ante there. So next, let me move to my next slide. I shared this slide at our past presentation, but just to inspire you all and really help you understand the importance of LinkedIn, having a LinkedIn strategy specifically, is that 80% of B2B leads come through LinkedIn versus only 13% on Twitter and 7% on Facebook. I was on a call with a client this morning, and they were surprised that Twitter and Facebook were so low on that level. But it's also surprising to see how high LinkedIn is. So this doesn't mean that it's not a platform for business to consumer products, because there are so many people that do look for products. And if they see somebody talking about a really great, I don't know, RV or something like that, or their Toyota model, I don't know. There's a creator on LinkedIn who has a weekly talk show called Conversations in My Camry. And that one takes off substantially and is great free brand awareness for Toyota. So I digress. There's a market for everything on LinkedIn, and it's a very unsaturated market right now, which is why I'm super excited to share with you all the content that you should be creating and how to create it, because you're going to get into this very unsaturated field that's going to continuously attract more and more and more creators. So now is the time to get on board. And a little bit about the importance of creating content on social media is that, according to Harvard Business Review, which is one of my favorite resources for a lot of the new statistics and research that's come out, is that 65% of decision makers see online search as the most trusted source of information. So everybody's doing their back end research before they make a decision or while they're evaluating competitors. So having a content strategy on LinkedIn where it's found is so important. Also, in the reverse, 53% have eliminated a vendor. So making sure that you're ultra conscious about how you design and create and distribute this content is also extremely important. So again, I can repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, but content is key. It's so important in your social media strategy, and not just one type of content, but all of them. The thing about LinkedIn is that LinkedIn favors feed variety. So for each user that logs in every day, LinkedIn's algorithm is searching for the most variety to keep them interested and coming back for more. That means that in your feed, you'll see a post that's just text only. You'll probably see an article. You'll probably see something shared. You'll probably see a video and maybe even a document or a poll. So getting to know each one is more important now than ever. So 2020, this is my little, Tara, I shared this slide at our Munch and Learn, but this one it really resonates that we're in the future of digital marketing. This is not how we thought of social media 5 years ago. 2020 is this super user controlled arena of growth, social growth. You see these amazing large brands interacting with people on behalf of the brand to establish this connection with their consumers. And it really is about that engagement and that dialogue that drives the success of a social media strategy. So gone are the days of trending hashtags. So hashtags, if you are unfamiliar, they're the pound sign with the keyword that helps the topic trend on social media. So back in the day, I'm saying 5-10 years ago, we were doing social media relying super heavy on these keywords, because if somebody was focusing on these keywords, they would then see your content. But that's not really how it is today, especially on LinkedIn when it's very community oriented and it's about your first degree network and your second degree network, and in some cases your third. So there's no more, if you post it out there with a keyword, that it's going to be relevant and consumed. It's so much more about engagement. It's so much more about real relationships with people. For example, I share this example all the time because I love it. Insurance is probably the most boring industry that there is. You know, you can only talk about it so much without people just going into sleep mode. But that's why Progressive created Flo, this quirky personality where people connect with her and they want to engage with that kind of persona. Or Jake from State Farm, your typical guy at the end of the line that's trying to help you through your Q&A of insurance. So these are the human aspects that we bring to brands that make them so much more successful on LinkedIn. And I have my bubbles on the right side because, again, it's not a saturated environment. Only 1% of users, even though we've seen user profiles completely increase over the last 3 years. I think we've grown 300 million profiles. We still only see about 1% creating actively. And what does that mean? That means about 2 to 3 shares of or posts per week. This is also very heavy on engagement as well. So the formats are text only, images, articles, videos, PDFs/documents. So PDFs are the documents. And then polls that are new, which is a really awesome way to learn more about your community. And LinkedIn Live, which is newer, that you have to apply for. They are still accepting applications. I just heard about this. I thought they had switched this off forever, but they're still accepting applications. It is a very long process to hear back though, because they are flooded with applications. As you can imagine, COVID-19 is pulling a lot of people back onto the platform here with a lot of social media hunger. So that is why. So what I want to hear from you is, what is your favorite form of content to view? Please enter it in the chat. Is it the text only that's short and sweet that you can consume it on a snap? Is it a video where you can see somebody's face talking to you that you can feel more connected to? Is it documents that are more research-based that have that sort of academic value associated with it? I would love to hear your thoughts and see if there's any correlation with what I'm about to share. So let me open my chat. Image and text, images, image with short text from documents. Text only. Okay. Very interesting. Inspiration. We need more inspiration, don't we all? We need some more positivity in this world. I love it. Video, Patrick. Okay, I love that. All right, I'll minimize this for now so we can continue, but this is very interesting to see. Emojis, Tara, yes, please. 2020, right? Okay. So I see the theme there that we want some aesthetics. We want to look at something that's eye-catching, that draws us into that short copy. So we'll get into that shortly. But before you create a content strategy, you must have a goal. So for new creators on the platform, I highly suggest focusing in more on the brand awareness side, because if people aren't familiar with you or your brand, the chances of generating those leads easy aren't going to happen. So also, when you think about the different areas of focus, brand awareness, lead generation, lead nurturing, and career recruiting, you think of the different funnel phases or where they are in the pipeline. So for brand awareness, you're focusing on new strangers that you're welcoming into your circle as a new friend, a new connection. And then you want to generate them as a lead. And then obviously nurture them. And career recruiting is really its own thing, which relates a lot here because a lot of independent recruiters are finding LinkedIn extremely, extremely successful. So you have to focus in on which area you want to really drive hard and heavy at. Because without that, you're going to be throwing spaghetti at the wall, not having a good goal in terms of how many connections you want to attract that week, or followers you'd like to attract, or how many leads, how many discovery calls you want to have that week. These targeted goals are very important to see if your social media strategy is effective. So what makes a strong content strategy? Well, having actionable results, right? We want to have these to be measurable. And how do we do that? We want people, our visitors, to take an action. So what we do there is we create a strong call to action. These little buttons that I have are suggestions for call to actions. You can create about 3, I would say, different actions. Virtual coffees for discovery calls are very, very, very popular right now, especially amidst the pandemic and social distancing. We want that interaction, but people aren't really getting it. So having those virtual coffees are an ultimate. You can also get a free quote if you're a design agency or something like that, and people want edits on their website or SEO audits. Get a free quote. That's a great CTA. So where do we begin, right? We want to create a list of 20 topics that speak to your ideal goal, whether that's brand awareness, lead generation, etc. That also falls into the call to action pile. And if you have any questions on this, I can help you after this presentation. So I have this amazing content web, and I'm going to show it to you right here. This is a content web that I share all the time with my connections, and it helps you create topics to last you a lifetime. A lot of times we get stuck in this mental block or creative jam, and we forget, what are we going to create content about? I have nothing to write about today. There is so much out there in the world. So what I would suggest you starting with is your core topic. What is your expertise? What is it that you are selling? And then web it out to the subtopics, and those topics funnel into their other topics. So I'm going to share you an example right now. And I use this example all the time. I should probably switch it up and find a new client to represent. But okay, so Gravity Photo Company, local Madison brand, amazing people. I did this web for them. So this is a personal brand photography, right? On LinkedIn, personal branding fits great. It's about that strong professional digital reputation. So what do we want to talk about in terms of personal branding? My first bullet here is first impressions. And what can we make out of first impressions? Well, there's the psychology of first impressions, what goes on in somebody's brain in a first impression. There's also what creates an approachable image in that first impression, like the power of a smile or color psychology and things like that. So this is just an example so that you can get a better idea of how to create topics to keep you burning and burning and burning through these things so that you never get stale and you don't feel like you're out of ideas. Another great tip for creating content ideas is to do your research. Follow your newsletters that you love that are industry related so that you can get some ideas from them that they're sharing weekly. Okay, so what makes a strong strategy? Consistency. So as I said before, that 1% of creators that are consistent, it's creating at least 2 to 3 times per week. So habitually, Monday through Friday, that's the most active, just in general, in terms of people logging into LinkedIn. However, that is also the most often that people create. So don't avoid the weekends. The weekends are still a great time to post and share. Also, you want to focus on clarity. Do you have that relative that you meet with every year around the holidays and you still have no idea what they do for a living? This is so important. I do. I have a few people in my connections that I still don't know what they do. And it drives me bananas because I want to help. But making sure that you have a very clear, diluted understanding, that one sentence pitch in what you do or what the topic is about will help people understand it and remember it so much better. So you want to have topics that attract, that are more broad, more overreaching there, so that they can attract not just your niche that you're focusing in on, but potentially their connections and their connections, so that you can funnel them into you and drive those topics down as the time comes. You want to make sure that you have a hook, and we'll get there shortly, and I'll give you a couple tricks on that. And visually pleasing. You want to slow the scroll, right? When people see those bright colors in a feed that's white and black, it's like, whoa, what is this? Let me stop and read what this is about. And also real content, focusing on people, not on products. People love seeing people. As you can say, you'll see like a piece of fruit and all of a sudden you see a face in the fruit or something like that. People automatically are looking for those faces, those human engagements, just by our nature. So having people in your content, or even you in your images or videos or documents and graphics, it's that connection that people are looking for. And make sure that it's value-based. So what does that mean? People are either looking for resources, so that are reliable academic versions that they can rely on or even use in their own marketing materials, an emotional connection like inspiration or hope, or a laugh and an escape. So now that I've ironed out what is important in a content strategy, let's get into my secret recipe for creating a really strong piece of content. So I guess I realized I never really introduced myself, but what I've done over the past few years is create thought influence on social media from scratch, from really not knowing anything about it and learning on the fly, learning from fellow creators. And this is what has worked so well for me. So you have 3 seconds to hook somebody in. So if you're creating a video, you want to make sure you have a stellar thumbnail that you can upload with your video on LinkedIn, and a very quirky hook, or the first quick introduction. So don't waste it saying, hey, I'm Chantel Sumis with Stardust Creative. Don't waste it. Use a hook. That can be like, if you're talking about procrastination, you can say, stop being so lazy, or something along those lines that really engage people in. You want to include points like supportive. If you were writing an essay, you would use your supportive paragraphs, if you can think back that far to high school or college, to emphasize your point. Add a related source, even if it's funny, a joke or something like that. Include a link to your favorite comedian's profile. Ask a question. This is so important because engagement is everything on social media. So make sure you're asking a question at the end of your post that will encourage people to leave comments and start that dialogue with you. And you can learn so much from your community based on the comments that they share, because you can see their weaknesses or where they're struggling, and how you have a service or product that you can offer that will help with that. And as always, you don't always need to include a call to action, because this can feel spammy or too overly salesy if you use it too often. So proceed with caution on that one. You want to make sure that it does fit in well with your message. So again, you want to mix all of the above with a sprinkle of statistics, humor, and or hope that tie it to that value add, right? What is that person getting away from that piece of content? So before I dive into the types of content, does anybody have any questions? I'd love to elaborate on any of these items before diving in, or I can just swoop right on through them. No? Okay. I don't know where this, okay. All right, well, we'll move forward. Okay, so text only. This is the easiest piece of the puzzle. This was one that I saw a couple people most interested in. Clear and concise is important. It's great for top of mind nurturing. So what I say by that is you don't need to pre-program these. You don't need to put these into an automation tool. You can really just open up your phone and go in and type them on the fly. It doesn't take much preparation. The only thing is that it doesn't have graphic elements. There's nothing there to tie somebody in, to draw them in, unless it's like all caps or something like that, which can also come off as a little bit annoying, if you will, for lack of better words, to some people that are on there often. And there's an opportunity for misinterpretation, like in any communications issue. There's always that room for error. So here is what you can do to do's and don'ts, right? Use appropriate hashtags. The suggestion is 2 to 3 hashtags, no more than 3. And what you'll notice when you use these hashtags, this is a side note, is that when you look at your link to that piece of that post, your keywords are in that customized link then. So that's what gets found on Google or through search engines, those hashtags. All right, so, and make sure to leverage spacing for digestibility. And my next slide gives an example, but do not overuse it. Don't just use text-only posts because, again, LinkedIn's algorithm wants that variety. Don't copy and paste other people's content in order to avoid that copyright infringement. And don't be over salesy, like, you know, let's get on a discovery call, or I'll save you 20% today if you call me now. Let's avoid that. So here's an example of the digestibility. If you look at something like this, it's brilliant. It's easy to read. You can see certain things. You can see the creator. It's a quick and short, and look at their engagement levels. That's 1,000 reactions and over 800 comments on something like that. If you look at something like this compared to a paragraph of giant block of text, the block of text is going to be overwhelming and keep you scrolling. These stop the scroll. This is what slows the scroll. So, and slowing the scroll, what I mean by that is, I'll say that often, is going through things. You want people to stop and read. So this is just an example of the trend that you have probably already seen on LinkedIn. All right, so moving on, photo posts, images. This is what a lot of you really preferred in the feed. This is great for brand awareness because it can include your logo on that, or your face, your own personal images and personal branding images. It's attention grabbing, especially if you use color pops. So a color emphasis that pops out from the feed. That's also easy on the eyes. Green is a great one. Green and red are both great. Of course, that has color psychology to it. You want to make sure that your graphic elements are on brand. And then the drawbacks are that they're traditionally lower performing, and they're not as effective as video. However, they are quicker too. That's another benefit, is that they're quick. You can put a picture up there quickly. Do's: use captivating colors and alt text. So what alt text is it helps when you upload the image, you have a chance to add it. Otherwise, LinkedIn will create alt text for you based off of what your copy is included. Alt text is imperative for accessibility. So for our visual impaired users, please consider them. And don'ts: do not use existing content without giving credit. You can see a lot of that on social media. And don't get too personal. You know, you've seen a lot of, that's one of the questions that I'm asked most often on LinkedIn is how do you balance personal and professional? And it's tricky. It's definitely an art, but getting too personal, proximity breeds comfort, right? So we want to make sure that people aren't overly comfortable with you, or you're attracting the wrong traffic. That's what I mean by that. So I know that was a little vague. You can add up to 10 photos. Last week, I had a post with 9 images from my trip to the UP, and it got, gosh, like almost 100,000 views. It was like my first real viral piece that got so much. So you can add a lot more than just one image if that's something that you're interested in. All right, so videos. Videos are my personal favorite because they bring the most results. Every time I post a video that has a call to action, or it's about personal branding or my line of business, I usually land about 2 to 3 clients. So I stopped creating videos because I'm so backlogged, which is a great challenge to have. But what it is it's super engaging. It helps people feel like they know you without knowing you. Kind of like watching your favorite Netflix series. You are 4 episodes deep and you feel connected to the main characters, almost like you know them. It's no different on social media. So the drawbacks here are that obviously it's time consuming to create a quality video and to edit it and to publish it. But it's so worth it if you have the right tools. So here's the do's and don'ts. I should create a tutorial and a course specifically on video because we could talk about it forever. First, you want to evaluate the lighting. As you can see, like I'm super bright right now in my video because I have a giant light source right in front of me that's bringing in natural sunlight. There's no ring light, there's none of that. And you can use a ring light that will help you basically manipulate the lighting in any room. But if it comes through the back of you, people can't see your beautiful face and they can't stop and relate and engage as well. And what I mean by engaging is being like emotionally connected or intellectually connected to what you're saying, because they don't really see a figure. They see a figure, they don't see a human. All right, so then you want to make sure that you are shooting from proper angles. All right, a lot of people don't look straight at the camera. They look at themselves, like I'm looking at you people here to make sure that you're hanging out with me. You also want to make sure that you're not looking away too much so that you have that direct contact with the viewer. You want to eliminate background noise. This is something I think we've all dealt with or noticed in the past, is the traffic running in the background and it's almost impossible to hear what this person is saying, or a water fountain or running water. Lakes look gorgeous, aesthetically pleasing. However, if people can't hear what you're saying, it's worthless. So eliminate the background noise. Use a clean background. Less is more, unless you have some form of nice bookshelf. Corners are usually aesthetically pleasing, especially because it can give some form of dimension and center the key person or the key. It's escaping me right now. I apologize. But make sure to prepare a topic and a script. Do not write a script and read directly from the script. When you have a topic and you can just outline the bulleted list, kind of like I put in my secret recipe for content success, you can easily fly on it, kind of like I'm giving this presentation to you now. Shoot a time or two. You're going to want a second take. You're going to want a third take, especially if you're new. You're going to be a perfectionist. Don't be too hard on yourselves. People like that authenticity and they want to see the real you. They don't want to see somebody reading from a script or talking monotone. They want to have a real human interaction. So don't be so hard. And then add captions. Captions on LinkedIn, you can either embed them into your video in the editing phase, or you can get an SRT file and upload it to LinkedIn. I'm hoping that LinkedIn in the next few years has this automated, so we don't need to worry about this any longer. But until then, captions are so imperative, because 85% of videos on LinkedIn are watched without sound on. Back in the days when we were in our offices, we might watch a video and not want the rest of the world to hear it on LinkedIn. So that's one of the many reasons why. Don'ts. Do not ever record a video while driving. This seems super elementary. However, the amount that I see online of people driving and recording, even if they're using hands-free, it's distracting and it's not safe. And you will lose some respect from people like me and a lot of others that don't agree with that are momming out, that think, gosh, what if that was my child? No, 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 no. So don't ever do that. Also, don't record with a lot of background noise. Once again, people will, if you're getting those auto-generated subtitles in there, it will read them wrong again. So it's really important to find a quiet space. And never post without reviewing captions. This happened to me a few times. All the time. They import them wrong, especially with a thick northern accent like some of us have. But one time they actually put an F-bomb into one of my captions, and I didn't even find it until about 4,000 views later. So I never said it, but it was in the captions. Oopsie. All right. So that's all that I had on videos. If you have questions on videos, like finding how tools to create videos, etc., let me know. I'm happy to help you with that. There's a lot of awesome resources out there, especially resources that do the subtitles for you. So just let me know, send me a message. Articles are amazing. They're often overlooked. This is, aside from video, articles are my favorite because they're so well searched. When you type in a keyword on Google or Bing, the chances of it finding a LinkedIn resource or LinkedIn article on the first or second page are super, super high. So if you're talking about personal brand expert, Madison, Wisconsin, you could title your article, "Why Personal Branding is Booming in Madison." And then, you know, that you can drive them down the funnel and say, yes, I'm a personal brand expert and I'll help you meet your goals. So that's why articles are so important. It has a 100 score on Moz, which means LinkedIn is putting those articles into the feeds of Google and Bing. It's also on your profile. You can feature it now. This was featured sections are now newer to LinkedIn. So you can take, if you wrote an article that's amazing 4 years ago, you can optimize that and put it on the top of your profile, which is really nice. And it also, it amplifies your reputation as more of a thought leader in your field. So again, articles are great resources. The drawbacks are that it's lower reach than other content forms. Obviously, you've probably seen that. You might get a like or two on that and nothing on, and 10 times that on an image post, but it still has its place. So please don't neglect your articles, please. Also, there's no way to or actually, this is null and void. Please excuse that. Since the featured items or featured elements, that one is no longer relevant. So you can prioritize your articles, which is so awesome now. So here's my articles suggestions. Now, this also goes for blog articles. If you have a blogging strategy on your website, or really any other form of article, if you're a contributor on Thrive or Forbes. So one, use a catchy headline. Your headline is the most important for searching. When somebody searches for those keywords, make sure your keyword is in your headline. Articles should be around 2,000 words. That seems extreme, right? A few years ago, the norm was 500 words for a blog post to get relevant search activity. That's changed. Now, search engines and LinkedIn included look at the more words as being more quality. So quantity is quality in terms of articles. Use simple language and a neutral tone. This can, you know, you're not super monotone. We don't want it to be boring by any means, but we do want it to be more of an academic piece and resource there. Include subheaders. So I have this 5-7-9 rule here. These are for subheaders. So what does that mean? If you have how to make chicken soup as your title, and then you have the subtitles would be the importance of bone broth, finding organic carrots, etc. And making it more digestible by creating those subtitles or subheaders so that when people flow through it quickly, they know exactly what to look for. Use a custom image in your images. Feel free to design something in Canva. It's super easy to do, but you can even use the title or a quote from the article in that main image and include them within your article too. Listicles and how-tos perform best. So how-tos and listicles are great resources as well. So best case scenario, you spend all this time writing articles that can be leveraged as lead generators. Or once you have a discovery call, you can say, hey, I wrote this awesome article. I turned it into an ebook so that you have these resources. Kind of like my secret sauce on LinkedIn ebook that all started as an article. So upcycle these articles. That's what I'm getting at. And publish on a Thursday. That's what the data shows on LinkedIn, is that articles posted on Thursdays perform the best. All right, so then we get into documents. Documents are newer. They're newer, and I think you can have up to 10 pages. The thing we don't want to do with documents, I guess I should focus on benefits and drawbacks first. Oh, we got a chat here. Should you post the article on multiple platforms? Will this affect the SEO? Or do you do short post with link to the article on LinkedIn? Okay, great question. If you cross post this from LinkedIn to other places, it's gonna look like it's spam. It's going to get red flagged by Google and by Bing because it should not exist on more than one platform. So that's the drawback. Drop my pen here. So the answer is you should only post it on the one platform. However, keep them separate. Don't just ignore blog posts and LinkedIn posts. You can share the blog posts on LinkedIn. Again, this is a tip or a hack. LinkedIn doesn't want you going anywhere when you're on their program. They don't like those external links. You'll see that reflected in your reach and your likes. So that's something to keep in mind too. So when you're thinking about your LinkedIn strategy, you really want to think about it as being your own personal profile or your own brand profile or your website. This is a website in a website. That's the long and short of it. I hope that answers your question. It will affect search engine optimization, so it's important to spread the wealth, if you will. Yes, I think I answered that completely. You're welcome. If you have any more questions, let me know. So the benefits of documents are they're new. And again, LinkedIn wants that feed variety, and not many people have documents to share. So it's good to add into your strategy sparingly. You can share PDFs, press releases, although they're a little bit more boring and people won't be as engaged to press releases or case studies. But they will be engaged with infographics that you can put into PDF form instead of JPEGs that you would include as an image. So that's a great way to utilize the document share. The drawbacks are that it can be viewed as spam if it's more of a press release or a sales sheet or a case study or even a white paper. And it's still a bit buggy. So they're still trying to perfect the code and the reach and the algorithm. All right, so do's: include text in the post of the documents that you're sharing. So that will help people understand what that document's about in order to poke through it. Also, encourage people to save the document. They can definitely do that. So it's not necessarily gated at that point where they need to provide you their information and their firstborn to access it. But it's great to have top of mind so that when it's on their desktop and they see your brand on there, it's still that top of mind. And share multiple pages, again, 5 to 10 pages. It's a lot of resource and value you can put into a document. You could also take your articles and put it into a document and share it as a document as well, so that you hit on both of those elements without it seeing the copy of the article in the document, and that would offset the SEO. So maybe that's something that you could do with your blog posts too, so that it shows everything's improved there and everything is optimized. And again, don't share documents that are not yours unless you have permission or you give right credit to them. Okay, so I did not cover polls. Polling is a brand new feature that you can include. I don't even know how many options. I used it and I thought it was really neat to see. And little known fact here, if you haven't used polls yet, you can see who voted for each item. So it's not anonymous. So if you have a poll, for example, I posted a poll about the pandemic, and if anybody's seen any brand blunders or brands completely flop on their faces with a bad strategy, or if they think brands are completely safe. And I got to see the exact people who said, yes, these are big brand blunders. So then I can ask, oh, what happened? My goodness, was it you? You know, how can I help? Those kinds of things. So it's very great information. And I don't know if they'll anonymize that, but hopefully they won't, because it is good user data. So here's some last minute hacks. Native content performs best. So do not share videos from YouTube. This is the ultimate flop that a lot of people do because they think that it will be okay. However, it's not. So LinkedIn wants you to stay on their platform, upload the video natively there. You should still have a YouTube strategy, I feel, for SEO purposes, so don't completely neglect that either. Engagement within the first hour matters most. So we created a little pod that I wanted to revisit. However, the thing with pods is that if you're not an active creator and you're not sharing in there, the pods are basically irrelevant. They're not going to work. We have a LinkedIn local Madison pod that has been performing extremely well. We probably have about 10 things shared in there a day, which can seem overwhelming, but when you're constantly in there engaging, everybody's engagement is just going way up. And then there's also a Robinhood update. So what is this? This is like the code name. So LinkedIn's algorithm is taking views from mega creators that have hundreds of thousands of followers and giving them to newer creators because they really want to encourage new creators to continue creating. The burnout is real, and it can feel like your information is not being seen when people aren't liking it and commenting on it. But let me assure you that it is being seen. Those view numbers don't lie. And just because people aren't liking it and commenting on it doesn't mean it's not a good piece of information. That value there of having brand awareness is still extremely relevant. So don't give up too soon. So what can you do today to build an epic content strategy? 1, confirm that your profile is set to public. I can't share this enough, you guys. So many people forget that they're set to public, or private, which is fine. But if you are spending all of this time and resources creating a strong strategy, we want to make sure that it's found, okay? So set that puppy to public. Also, follow and engage on active content within your field. If mega creators and influencers see you engaging on their content, often they're going to reach out and let you in and mentor you and reciprocate. So it is important to give more than you receive. Outline your goals. What's your goal for your content strategy? And your 3 call to actions. And you also want to make sure to do that content web so that you have topics for years to come. And then, you know, the pod activity is a really great resource if you're ready to create actively. It's a really great place to stay accountable and be inspired to create more too. So make sure that if you're interested in doing a pod activity, comment I'm in the chat, and I will hopefully get back to you and see if we can pair you up with some other very active creators on LinkedIn, because we're all better when we work together. And if we're like super interested, but we're not going to really commit, you know, it's not going to be as effective. So I hope you understand that. And then 7, get started. Just start creating. Get on video. I want you to get uncomfortable being on video. I want you to be uncomfortable because you'll get more comfortable as you do it. Nobody wants to do video at first, let me be honest, unless you go to journalism and you're excited to be in the news and stuff like that. It's weird. It's not natural. But the more you do it, the more it becomes natural. So at that moment, if you have any questions at all, I would love to answer them. So, okay, what is a pod? A pod is basically a group chat. It's a group of creators that get together and share their content there. So Terry, I know with your eWomen's Network, it might be a great community for those ladies that you have, or, you know, men too, to get into the group and support one another there. Another suggestion is for associations. If you have an association with micro associations, you can support everybody's community. Middleton Chamber of Commerce, you know, you have so many members where you can create a member group and have members share their content there so you can engage on them. The options are endless for these pods, but it really is about that activity. You know, if people aren't being active in there, it's not going to be as successful. So there's that. Any other questions about any kind of content, what a good content strategy is, where to get started?
And if you guys want to take yourselves off of mute and ask your question, please feel free to do that as well, or use the chat.
I also have, while thinking of your questions. Yes, Terry? Are you raising your hand?
I am. I'm raising a real hand, not just a virtual hand.
Yay!
Yay! So for beginner video people, especially like if we want like backgrounds and stuff like that, and maybe we're not in a great place right now to do backgrounds except for Zoom. Can you record on Zoom and use that for a video?
Absolutely. Yes. So I do a lot of my videos on my phone. I have a tiny little tripod. I just pop it up there, easy peasy. Also on your laptops, you have a camera. Or tablets, just use that. But Zoom is great for like collaborations. Collaborations I didn't cover, but they are so extraordinary, because if you see somebody who's a super user on LinkedIn and they're relative to your industry, get on a call, record it, chop it up into 5 different little bite-sized pieces and share it on LinkedIn. And then by tagging the people you collaborate with, you're dipping into their pool, their community. So you're driving their people that are already interested in somebody who's in your field to you, which is great. It's a great opportunity. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's just you know, how to do it, where to go with it. You know, I've done very minimal with the phone and just uploading it directly. I don't know how to edit. I don't know where to bring it to edit. I recently had to send something. I did one on Zoom. I put it in Dropbox, brought it to Vimeo, and I really don't know what I'm doing. So
ask me anytime. Any questions?
okay.
Yes, I use a tool called Wondershare Filmora. It's super inexpensive. Look at all these tools. Yes. The Wondershare Filmora is just basic. It's super friendly, user friendly for any newcomer. Also Adobe Premiere, I'm getting better at that. It's more expensive because it's subscription based. But just an intro and outro or something like that, a sizzle reel, it's really easy in Wondershare.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I posted 2 links since we went into quarantine. I bought a ring light for Zoom meetings that I would have in the evening, but the Zoom, this one has 3 different light brightness, I guess the word is. And then I also bought a tripod. So if you want to do videos, and those tools are both really inexpensive. The tripod's only $16, and then the ring light, I think, was $40. Oh, $39, yeah. So really inexpensive 2 tools that you can buy to really up your video game.
Yeah.
So I should be using them and doing video content.
Tara, digging yourself a hole, sister.
I
know. And then, so the last items that I had were really, oh, this one's your slide, but again, about premium. So premium, this is a little information about it. People ask me all the time if they should get it, and I use it religiously. I don't work for LinkedIn, so I'm not getting commission on any of this, but I do love it because it provides so much more insight into your strategy. So if you are interested in getting active on LinkedIn and you're going to drive the leads in and make a lot of money that way, which is doable, I'm living proof that it's possible, especially as a DIY approach, do it. So you get the extended network access. You can see a lot more people in terms of searching for them. You get a little golden tag on your name, which helps you pop in the feed, which can look as more credible. In-mail credits, even though I don't suggest in-mail credits, I think they're a little cumbersome. Instead, send a custom connection request that initiates that conversation. You can see who's viewed your profile, which is good information too, because basically after they come to your website, you know, shoot, this is a warm lead. You know, they're already interested in learning more about me. So let me send them a connection request. And then LinkedIn Learning Access. If you're a learning junkie like me, if you love education, especially free education, like learning HubSpot or email marketing or something like that, LinkedIn Learning has so many free tutorials to go through. So that, I think that's the one. Oh, so basically, if you're in sales and marketing, yes, you should definitely have LinkedIn Premium. All right, now let me go back to your slides.
Yep. Nope. Just a couple upcoming events for the chamber. Next week we do have a virtual networking session that we're calling FaceTime. So it's very similar to what you guys are used to at Get Moving Middleton. We've also got our economic development for next week, and then the following week we've got a business boost on recruiting. So and then I think the most exciting news, which we announced on Wednesday, is that we are moving forward with our golf outing this year. And so registration for that opens up on Monday. So make sure you watch for that, because we know that it sells out very quickly. So yay, upcoming chamber stuff. And with that, I just want to give a huge thank you to Chantel for taking time out of your crazy, awesome schedule to talk with our members. We really appreciate that. And for all of you that tuned in, thank you for supporting the chamber and being part of our organization.
Thank you, Kristen. Thanks, everybody.
Oh.
If you need anything, feel free to email me, or you can find me on LinkedIn.